Out here in the Wild West, a man's past rides with him.
They said no one could heal her, but out here, even the broken learn to breathe again. You ever loved someone who forgot how to feel in the Wild West? Pain don't scream, it stays quiet, buried under dust and whiskey. They said Lily Harper was too far gone, too cold to be saved. But then came a cowboy, Cole Matthews, a man who'd seen hell and still believed in heaven. He didn't promise to fix her. He just stayed. Sat beside her silence, matched her scars with his own. 'Cause love out here ain't about words. It's about who rides with you when you can't stand alone. Before we begin, take a moment to comment the name of your city. Where are you watching from tonight? And when this story ends, tell me, did the cowboy heal you? To the American West, 1890. The old town of Silver Creek lay buried under thick dust, where every dream seemed abandoned in moss-covered corners. Lily Harper stood still by the horse station, eyes following the train as it pulled away. Each clatter of wheels on the tracks a reminder of irreparable losses. The townsfolk whispered, murmuring, "No one can heal that girl. She's dead inside." A low, gravelly voice broke through the dust and the afternoon sun. Maybe she just needs someone who isn't afraid of broken things. Cole Matthews appeared slowly, tall and steady, his deep eyes carrying the weight of past mistakes and scars on his wrist. Their eyes met. Strange, yet peaceful, as if they recognized each other's loneliness. The soft strains of Western music began to play, gentle but profound, marking the start of a journey of healing for two closed-off hearts, where every step and every glance would rewrite a story of trust and hope. Part 1. The Stranger's Kindness. Evening spread across the dusty road near Silver Creek. The golden sunlight spilling over the old roadside tavern, its rough wooden walls exuding the scent of smoke and the dry hay from nearby fields. The wooden door creaked in rhythm with the wind, creating a slow, nostalgic, and lonely melody. Lily Harper, slender in a worn dress, pressed both hands against the broken wooden door, struggling to fit it back into the hinge. Sweat dotted her forehead. Her hands trembled, yet her face remained hard as stone, without a smile, without a trace of joy or despair. Hooves clattered on the dusty road outside. Cole Matthews stepped into the tavern, tall and imposing. Stetson tilted slightly on his head, a worn leather coat draping his shoulders, calloused hands moving in time with his steps. He paused, taking in his surroundings with sharp, tired eyes, the tilted tavern sign, the smoke from the kitchen drifting in the sunlight, and the girl wrestling with the wooden door. Without a word, Cole approached, gently lifting the misaligned plank from the hinge, adjusting it back into place. His hands were strong but unhurried, every movement deliberate, calm, making the surrounding air feel heavier with stillness. Lily turned to him, her eyes full of suspicion, as if to ask, "Who are you to meddle in my business?" But Cole only smiled softly, quietly, without pressure or noise. "It's okay, ma'am." She slightly furrowed her brow, but didn't withdraw her hands from the door. Their eyes met in that brief moment, heavy with unspoken emotion. She saw in his deep gaze not judgment or curiosity, but quiet, pure concern. Each time Cole adjusted the plank, the light breeze lifted strands of her hair, sunlight streaming through, casting glimmers across her weary but resilient face. The creak of the door, Cole's footsteps on the wooden floor, even the wind whistling through the cracks softened in the warm golden light. Lily felt her heartbeat quicken, not from fear, but from a strange sensation, the feeling of being seen, of being cared for, something she had thought lost along with her family. Cole continued to adjust the door, his hands brushing over the old wood with patience. Standing there, Lily realized no one had ever helped her like this before. No long words, no instructions, just simple, strong, calm action. Her heart, frozen from years of cold and loss, stirred gently for the first time in a long while. She really cares about me, her eyes seemed to ask, a mix of surprise and caution. The air around them felt heavy, but not oppressive, a precious stillness where every sound softened, leaving only their even breaths. Finally, the door settled securely into place. Cole withdrew his hands, looking at Lily with steady eyes, a hint of encouragement in them, as if to say, everything will be all right. For the first time in years, Lily spoke, her voice trembling but sincere. "Thank you." The small words echoed in the tavern, mingling with the wind and drifting dust, awakening something deep within Cole. He nodded gently, saying nothing more, letting the silence and their gaze linger, silently reminding her that kindness sometimes requires no words, only action and presence. Lily felt a slight lightness in her body, her chest warming like the afternoon sunlight streaming through the tavern window. She looked at Cole once more, her eyes no longer fully suspicious, holding curiosity, a hint of trust, and a fragile hope maybe there were still good people in the world. And maybe, after all her losses, she could still be healed. The evening light poured over the tavern, golden dust scattering across the floor. The creak of the door, the wind rustling through the trees outside, Cole's footsteps on the wood all blended into a gentle, warm melody. This moment needed no explanation. It was a beginning, the start of a long journey for two lonely hearts, a journey where silence and small gestures would nurture trust, hope, and love step by step. For the first time in many years, Lily Harper no longer felt completely alone. She glimpsed a spark of light in the dusty, sunlit world of the American West, and Cole Matthews, with his quiet patience, had entered her world not with fanfare, but with a small, simple gesture enough to stir a long frozen heart. Part 2. The Broken Horse. The sky over Silver Creek darkened as black clouds rolled in, lightning flashing briefly before fading into the rumble of thunder. The stable behind the station echoed with the frantic pounding of hooves. Lily Harper stood amidst the wooden posts, gripping the reins of the panicked horse, hands trembling yet determined not to let go. Sweat dotted her forehead. Strands of brown hair clung to her face, a reminder of the loneliness and loss that had shadowed her for years. The horse jerked violently, mud splattering everywhere, old nails creaking under its hooves. Lily struggled with all her strength to hold the animal, but a sudden lunge threw her off balance, and she tumbled onto the wet ground. The cold earth made her flinch, her heart racing. But what scared her more was the sense of helplessness. Her eyes widened as she scanned the area, and for the first time in many years, she truly wished for someone to be there beside her. The pounding of hooves and the rolling thunder created a chaotic rhythm, but from the corner of the stable, a figure appeared steady, unflinching amid the chaos. Cole Matthews sprang forward, his leather coat fluttering slightly in the wind, arms reaching out to catch Lily before she hit the ground. His steadiness nearly froze her in place. In Cole's embrace, Lily felt warmth and security, firm yet unobtrusive, protective without intrusion, simply guarding her. Cole lowered her gently, his calm eyes meeting hers. No words were spoken immediately, but every motion, every glance conveyed careful protection, a presence strong enough to make her feel safe for the first time in years. Lily lifted her gaze, meeting his eyes, and something in her heart softened. She sensed the difference between endured fear and someone willing to stand there calmly, shielding her without reason. The horse, after a few final jolts, gradually settled. Thunder still rolled in the distance, but the stable no longer shook violently. Lily gasped for breath, her body still trembling, but her fear gave way to something strange relief. She was still weary, but in Cole's arms, she knew she was not alone. She whispered, her voice trembling but sincere, "You weren't afraid." Cole's lips curved in a slight smile, eyes still fixed on her, deep and steady. "I've seen worse pain. Miss, yours just needs time." His words were not empty encouragement, but a silent promise that pain could be healed, given patience and someone brave enough to stand by her side. Lily felt warmth radiate from his embrace, seeping into her heart, soothing every fear. She realized, perhaps for the first time in years, she could trust another person, trust in unconditional protection. Lightning continued to streak across the sky, but now it no longer frightened her. Instead, it reflected off their faces, painting a quiet yet beautiful scene amid the storm. Dust, the smell of wet grass. The horse's hooves all seemed to pause, leaving space for two souls to connect through empathy and trust. Cole gently took Lily's hand, helping her steady herself, eyes never leaving hers. In that moment, all fear and loss in her heart receded slightly. She realized strength does not always come from conquering or claiming. Sometimes it is simply a presence, a steady hand amid chaos, amid the thunder and rain outside the stable. Lily felt her heartbeat sync with Cole's breathing. A strange calm seeped into her soul, as though, for the first time in years, she no longer had to bear her pain alone. Every gesture of Cole, from the way he held her, looked at her, to the warmth of his voice, said one thing: some people enter your life not to change the world, but to help you realize you can stand on your own. When the horse had fully calmed, Lily exhaled, the trembling easing. She looked at Cole, whispering softly, "You weren't afraid." He answered, steady and deep, blending with the thunder outside. "I've seen worse pain, miss. Yours just needs time." No further words were needed. This was the beginning of a long journey where Lily would learn to trust, to stand firm against fear, and to understand that sometimes all it takes for healing is someone brave enough to simply be there. A light rain began to fall, wetting their hair and shoulders, yet Lily no longer shivered. The flashes of lightning and rolling thunder, instead of frightening her, became a backdrop to their connection, a score for the emergence of human kindness in the harsh West. Droplets falling to the ground, mingling with dust and dirt, reminded her that even when disrupted, life could settle again. Lily felt Cole's hands, felt the warmth and calm in his gaze. She realized fear would pass, given time and the presence of kind souls. In that brief moment, amid thunder, mud, and falling rain, a small light flickered within her, fragile, but real. And as the storm outside the stable slowly subsided, Lily Harper stepped out, slow but steady. her heart no longer desolate. Cole Matthews stood beside her, still quiet, still her anchor. In that moment, amid the vast, dusty, rain-soaked west, human presence appeared like a small miracle, silently healing the deep wounds within. Part 3. The Firelight Night. The rain fell steadily on the roof of the old horse stable, each drop pattering on the tin sheets, mingling with the whistling wind slipping through the gaps in the wooden walls. The space was warmed by a lantern hanging in the center of the stable, its golden light casting contrasting patches of brightness and shadow across the faces of Cole Matthews and Lily Harper, intimate and profound. The scent of damp straw, oil smoke, and wet earth filled the air, sharpening every sense, making each breath, each glance, heavy with emotion. Cole sat down beside her, his frame steady, yet his eyes carried untold stories. He began to speak, his voice low and even, just audible over the rain outside. He told her about the girl he had once loved, the one who had died because of his own mistakes. Each word struck the space like a gentle knife, painful, yet sincere. Lily listened, her gaze fixed on the flickering light of the lantern, feeling an inexplicable stirring in her heart. His pain was not meant to boast or deepen her loneliness, but was truth a part of him he was now revealing to her. She remained silent, letting her eyes soften as she studied him. For the first time, Lily realized that in those deep eyes, there was no guilt or shame, only compassion, the strength of a heart that had endured suffering, yet remained ready to stand firm and protect. She understood that even with the scars of his past, he could create a safe place for her, a place where she could breathe, where she could trust. Outside, the rain tapped rhythmically on the stable roof. The wind stirred dry leaves across the quiet space. Everything seemed to settle, yielding to the silence between them. Cole inhaled deeply, lifted his head to look at the lantern, then turned toward Lily, whispering softly, almost to himself, "Maybe we both forgot what it feels like to be alive." Lily looked at him, the light reflected in her eyes like tiny flames flickering in the rainy night. For the first time in years, a delicate smile began to bloom on her face, trembling yet genuine, like a flower opening amidst a storm. She realized that life was not only about surviving, but about being seen, cared for, and loved. In that moment, the rain continued outside. The lantern's glow danced across the old wooden beams, creating a space both private and sacred. Lily and Cole simply sat there in silence, letting their smiles and gazes connect their souls, a wordless promise that from now on, they would not be alone. The rain dampened the ground outside, but inside the stable, where the light fell on the straw, their hearts warmed. She felt peace for the first time in many years, and in his eyes, Lily saw not guilt or regret, but a compassion she had never known before. That night, beneath the gentle golden light, amidst the scent of straw and oil smoke, Lily Harper smiled softly, slowly, a small smile, yet enough to mark the beginning of a journey of healing, a journey where past pain and loneliness were replaced by trust, hope, and human connection. Part 4. The First Laugh. The sun began to rise over the hills, pale golden light filtering through the morning mist that blanketed the dewy meadow. Each drop of dew sparkled like tiny gems on the grass, on the horses' backs, and in Lily Harper's brown hair. The air was still heavy with the scent of damp earth and morning grass, carrying a quiet, serene freshness. Lily stood beside Cole Matthews, eyes wandering over the vast fields where horses grazed lazily, and for the first time in years, she felt a sense of peace spreading through her. Cole approached, tall and composed, his eyes calm yet full of patience. He tugged lightly on the reins, offering a gentle smile, voice low and steady. Ready to try again? Lily nodded softly, excitement and nervousness fluttering in her chest. She had never felt such freedom sitting atop a horse. Years of loss and solitude seemed to fall away, replaced by a strange but vivid sensation of life. She mounted the horse, struggling to find balance, but it startled slightly, and she tumbled onto the thin layer of misty grass. The wet earth soaked her clothes, yet the sunrise reflecting on her face made the moment feel gentle, far from the weight of her past failures. Cole bent down, hands reaching out to lift her with a firm yet tender gesture. He smiled, kind and unhurried. "Don't worry, you'll get it." Lily returned a trembling but genuine smile. For the first time in many years, her laughter rang out across the misty meadow light, pure, yet enough to make Cole pause, his chest tightening with an unfamiliar ache. His gaze lingered on her, realizing that her smile was more than fleeting joy. It was a first step toward profound change, the opening of a new chapter in Lily's journey of healing. She tried again, holding the reins tighter, body tense but determined. This time, the horse moved slowly and steadily. Lily felt each movement, each breath, overwhelmed by the liberating sense of freedom she hadn't known in years. Cole walked alongside, guiding her when needed, eyes calm but full of encouragement. Every time Lily fell, Cole never showed impatience or frustration. He lifted her gently, chuckled softly, and shared small tales from his travels, times he had fallen and still risen. Their laughter intertwined, forming a warm rhythm amid the morning mist, soft wind, and the scent of wet grass. Gradually, Lily gained confidence. Her back straightened, hands firm on the reins, eyes shining with pure delight. She realized she was learning to stand tall, not just on a horse, but on the long path of life itself, a path no longer ruled by past sorrow or solitude. Cole paused, sitting atop his horse nearby, eyes scanning the horizon yet noting every expression on Lily's face. He raised his hand toward the brightening sky, where the sun peeked through thin clouds, casting shimmering light across the meadow. "See, even the morning waits for someone to find their way." Lily laughed again, more naturally this time, her smile spreading slowly across her face. In her imagination, soft background music, the low strum of a guitar and a rustic harmonica blended with the wind and mist over the meadow. A gentle warmth filled her, and her laughter became the first sign of rebirth. Sometimes laughter is the first sign of healing. Each fall, each rise. Lily felt a silent bond with Cole. He was more than her riding teacher. He was her anchor, her guiding light, showing her that fear and loss could be overcome. She began to believe she could stand tall, move forward, and savor the pure joys of the simplest things. The morning meadow, the light mist, golden sunlight, the sound of horse hooves, and their laughter merged into a tranquil yet vibrant tableau. Lily no longer trembled. Fear had vanished. She felt her heartbeat in sync with Cole's, and in that moment, some of the pain of the past seemed to melt away. Cole stood quietly beside her, watching her smile, realizing that her laughter had touched him as well, soothing years of fatigue and regret. She laughed, and he understood that healing did not always come from words. Sometimes a smile, a gaze, and calm presence were enough. As the morning mist lifted and sunlight streamed through the clouds, illuminating Lily's radiant face and Cole's steady figure, it marked the first step in their long journey where pain was replaced with joy, solitude with companionship, and a simple smile became a guiding light for a heart once frozen. For the first time in many years, Lily Harper laughed fully, naturally, completely, and Cole Matthews, standing beside her, knew he was witnessing the smallest but strongest miracle joy, trust, and life returning in her eyes. Part 5. The Shadow Returns. The wind howled through Silver Creek, carrying the scent of dry earth and old smoke. The sun sank behind distant hills, its golden light turning to a fiery orange, casting long shadows across the weathered wooden houses. Lily Harper was rearranging the saddles by the station porch, feeling a lightness in her chest after a long day. She did not expect the evening wind to bring back a figure she had thought permanently erased from her life, the man who had burned everything she once held dear. Heavy, deliberate hoofbeats echoed along the main road, evoking memories of the terrifying day the fire consumed her family home. Lily's heart raced as she looked up, and when the man appeared, the world seemed to freeze. He wore a worn coat, eyes sunken, a face etched deep into her memory, the man who had set her house ablaze, now a recently released prisoner. The chains were gone from his wrists, leaving only the hardened air of a survivor. He stepped forward, eyes indifferent, as if the sins of the past had never existed. Lily instinctively took a step back, then paused. A chill ran down her spine. Her hands clutched her skirt, trembling. Yet her gaze did not waver. Behind her, Cole Matthews stood silent as a rock in the wind. He said nothing, merely placing a firm hand on Lily's shoulder. That hand, warm, steady, reminded her that she was no longer alone. No words were needed. Just his presence made her understand she did not have to face the past by herself. The man stopped a few paces away, a weary, mocking smile on his lips. "I never thought you'd survive. Small town, Silver Creek. Still not forgotten? Huh?" His tone was slow, deliberate, probing at old wounds. What he didn't know was that those wounds had scarred over. And this time, she was no longer the helpless girl amid the ashes. Lily drew a deep breath, her gaze steadying. Her hands still trembled, but a quiet strength was growing in her chest, the strength Cole had been teaching her over the past days to face, not flee. "You can't scare me anymore," she said, hoarse but firm. The man smirked, eyes challenging. "Oh, really? Because you have him standing behind you." Cole remained silent, eyes fixed on Lily. He did not need to speak, just standing there, his hand on her shoulder, was enough to show he trusted her, that she was strong enough to say what she needed to say herself. Lily looked directly at the man who had destroyed her past. In her eyes, there was no fear, only a strange calmness, the serenity of someone who had learned to forgive herself. Her voice lowered, soft, yet sharp as a blade. "You can't hurt me anymore. I found someone who knows pain better than you ever did." The man froze. Those words were not revenge, they were closure. A gentle but definitive full stop. True strength, Lily realized, belonged not to the one who returns pain, but to the one who refuses to let it control them. A gust of wind swept through, lifting dust from the street, tossing Lily's hair and Cole's coat. The whistling through the wooden fence erased the remnants of the confrontation. The man turned, gaze empty, walking slowly as his silhouette vanished behind the evening dust, carrying the past Lily had once worn like a wound. Lily remained standing, heart racing, but no longer from fear. She glanced at Cole, his expression calm, a slight nod reassuring her. You did it. She smiled the first smile of inner victory, not because she had defeated anyone, but because she had conquered herself. The last rays of sunlight filtered through thin clouds, illuminating her face in golden orange light. A sacred moment, a cleansing for a weary soul after years of torment. Cole lowered his hand, watching Lily walk a few steps toward the stable. She paused, turning slightly, voice carried softly in the wind just for him to hear. I think I've closed that chapter. He didn't reply, only smiled, his gaze saying everything. In the distance, the Silver Creek church bell tolled. The sun sank lower, light spilling across the fields as the evening mist began to blur the horizon. Lily closed her eyes briefly, breathing evenly, feeling a true peace she hadn't known for years. Behind her, Cole Matthews stood firm, a pillar in the wild wind. A quiet pride rose in his chest. He no longer needed to save her. She had saved herself. And Lily, in that dust-filled evening, felt freedom for the first time. Not because the past had disappeared, but because she was strong enough to face it head-on. The last wind of the day rustled, carrying distant horse calls and the scent of dry grass. Lily stepped closer to Cole, whispering softly, "Thank you for standing there." Cole looked at her, gaze as steady as stone, yet deep inside, something began to soften, something he himself hadn't yet named. In the fiery sunset of the west, among the scars of earth and human experience, two broken souls now stood side by side. No words were necessary, only silence, and the peace of those who had endured pain and found each other in stillness. Part 6. The Shootout at Dawn. Dawn broke over Silver Creek, pale golden light filtering through the trees and roadside grasses, casting shifting streaks across the dust-streaked ground. The morning air was still cold, heavy with dew, mingled with the scent of wet earth and smoke drifting from distant wooden houses. Cole Matthews stood beside Lily at the edge of town, his back against a small rock, eyes scanning every movement around them. Lily's breath came fast, heart racing, yet her gaze held an unusual determination, a resolve to stand firm even as fear crept in. Hooves pounded from a distance, deep and rapid. A figure emerged through the golden dust, the villain who had once terrorized the town, now returning with a cold, menacing presence, gun in hand. Each step he took seemed to drag darkness and threat along with it. Lily's chest tightened, hands gripping the reins as if frozen in place. The man stopped, eyes fixed on them, voice cold and cutting. "Thought you could hide forever." Cole drew a deep breath, his voice low and commanding. "Not hiding, just making sure she's safe." In that brief moment, a jolt ran through Lily, fear mixed with extreme tension. Her heart leapt as the man raised his gun, the muzzle flash cutting through the morning mist. A blinding streak of light. Cole acted without hesitation. One swift movement, he lunged, shielding Lily with his body, and the bullet tore through the space like fate itself. The explosion of sound shattered the stillness of dawn. Cole collapsed, blood soaking his shirt, dust and dirt clinging to him. Lily screamed, panic merging with the swirling wind and flying dust. She clutched Cole tightly amid the dirt, feeling his rapid, warm breath and steady calm despite his wound. Her eyes filled with tears, hands trembling as they touched the bloodied fabric, dust and grit clinging to her clothes. Pain throbbed in her chest, yet she did not retreat. Helplessness dissolved, replaced by a new determination to protect the one who had always protected her, the one who had never left her alone in the face of suffering. Cole, voice hoarse but firm, whispered, "Don't run from what scares you. Lily, that's how you heal." His words blended with the wind rushing across the meadow, matching Lily's ragged breathing. She looked at him, sensing the calm in his eyes, the steadiness he had offered from the moment they met. In that instant, fear, pain, and the storm outside gave way to a profound connection between two souls. Lily squeezed Cole's hand, feeling his heartbeat steady, realizing that sometimes confronting fear is not about defeating someone else, but about learning to stand tall. Blood, dust, gunfire, and the chaotic dawn became the soundtrack for that moment, a moment of trust, growth, and the first stirrings of true healing. The villain recoiled, assessing the two, recognizing that real strength did not come from a gun, but from resilience and human courage. He turned away, leaving behind dust, morning light, and two people standing amid the chaos, both terrified yet alive, vibrant with the pulse of life. Lily drew a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment before opening them to look at Cole. A trembling yet genuine smile appeared on her lips, the first since she had become an orphan. She knew they had survived the first trial together, and that sometimes facing fear is the only path to real healing. Cole looked at her, nodding slightly, giving her hand a gentle squeeze before releasing it. Together, they rose amid the light of dawn, dust, and mist, continuing the journey they had begun with silent, tender gestures, quiet yet full of strength. Part 7. The Silent Days. Autumn draped golden leaves across the forest surrounding the small cabin, where old oak and pine formed a protective wall for two souls who had just emerged from life's storms. The air outside was chilly, a gentle breeze slipping through the cracks in the door, yet inside, the faint smell of burning wood from the stove mixed with herbal tea, creating a rare warmth and calm. Lily Harper stepped lightly into the room, her hands still speckled with dirt from the previous day's chaos, eyes watching Cole Matthews as he sat back in a chair, breathing evenly, yet his face still carrying traces of pain. She bent down, opened the medical kit, gently removed his coat, and cleaned the wounds on his shoulder and arm. Every gesture was careful and deliberate, not clumsy, full of patience, as if afraid to aggravate his scars, yet also a silent way to thank Cole, the man who had always stood by her, protecting her and teaching her to trust the world again. Her hands carefully bandaged each wound, occasionally glancing at his steady gaze, noting both his fatigue and the unwavering trust still alive within him. Once the bandaging was complete, Lily moved to the small stove, lit a fire, boiled water, and prepared a simple, warm meal. She chopped vegetables, seasoned the food, all while observing Cole from afar. He said nothing, eyes calm, watching her work, each of Lily's movements in the cabin, every act of washing or arranging dishes, carried a quiet grace, both care and a wordless thank you for all he had done for her, for the days when she had thought her faith in the world was gone. As the afternoon waned, reddish light filtered through the wooden windows, casting patches of illumination and shadow across the floor. Lily draped a warm blanket over Cole's shoulders, noticing him close his eyes and breathe more steadily. She paused, watching him. In his eyes, she saw not just peace but trust that he would not let go of her. just as she would not abandon him. These silent days together, with no words, no noise, were enough to heal the deep wounds they had both carried for years. Outside, leaves rustled in the wind, a natural melody accompanying the stillness inside the cabin. Lily sat beside the bed, her hand lightly resting on Cole's arm, feeling his steady heartbeat. She reflected on the painful days, the loneliness she had clutched so tightly. Now, seeing him sleeping peacefully, she realized that healing wasn't about forgetting the past, but about finding someone worth remembering, someone who makes your heart want to open again. She moved gently around the cabin, the tidy stove, blankets neatly arranged, water steaming in a pot over the fire. Every small detail, every action she performed was imbued with respect and gratitude. No words were spoken, yet in her eyes, in her steps, and in her careful hands, Cole could feel the depth of her affection. Kneeling beside him, Lily placed her hand on his chest, feeling his warm breath and steady heartbeat. She whispered, both to herself and to him, maybe healing isn't about forgetting. It's about finding someone worth remembering. The lantern light flickered, casting a soft glow on her gentle yet resolute face. For the first time in years, Lily felt genuine peace seep into her heart. She understood that Cole was not just a physical support, but a place her heart could lean on, a space where trust and hope began to bloom. Outside, the wind rustled through golden leaves, letting dry foliage fall gently. Inside, the cabin was silent enough to hear only their breathing, blending with the whistling wind and rustling leaves. The sensation was profound. Lily realized that healing doesn't always require grand gestures or loud words, but can simply be found in presence, quiet care, and unspoken gratitude. She adjusted the blanket over Cole once more, fixed the pillow, then stepped back, watching him sleep. In that moment, all pain, all loss, all fear seemed tucked away, replaced by warmth, comfort, and absolute safety. Lily stood there for a long while, hand lightly resting on the edge of the bed, eyes toward the window looking out at the forest. Golden leaves drifted with the breeze, the last light of day shining across the wooden walls, painting a warm, poetic scene. She inhaled deeply, feeling her heartbeat in rhythm with his, as though they were sharing a peace they had not known for many years. Each small act, bandaging, cooking, cleaning, spreading blankets, was a silent message of gratitude. She knew Cole had given her trust, a safe place, and now the only way to return it was through quiet, complete, and sincere care. As autumn night deepened, the cold dew seeped through the cracks, but inside the cabin, Lily and Cole were wrapped in warmth. She looked at him once more, a delicate but genuine smile appearing on her lips. In the flickering lantern light, she whispered again, reminding herself and reaching out to him, maybe healing isn't about forgetting. It's about finding someone worth remembering. In that moment, the cabin was entirely still, only their breathing, the light, and the peace spreading through their hearts remained. Lily knew the journey of healing continued, but now she had a solid anchor, the man standing behind her, whose presence alone was enough. And in that silence, love quietly began to take root, gentle yet steadfast, promising a future where two lonely hearts could find each other in the vast, wild west. Part 8. The Letter. He never sent night had fallen over the forest surrounding the cabin, the moon peeking through the treetops, casting a pale glow on the weathered wooden walls. Inside, the lantern's soft yellow light revealed Cole Matthews sitting quietly at the table, Outside, a gentle wind rustled the dry leaves, and the crackling fire in the stove echoed steadily, like the heartbeat of the house itself. Cole lowered his head, calloused hand gripping an old pen, writing slowly and deliberately. The lantern light fell on the paper, illuminating the heartfelt lines he dared not speak aloud. If one day I am gone, I only hope you continue to believe in love, for love not only saves others, but also keeps your own heart alive. With each word, Cole felt his chest grow heavier, as though he were giving a piece of himself away. He paused, staring at the paper, his eyes darkening, a lump forming in his throat. He knew nothing in the harsh West was guaranteed no promise of lasting safety. Yet if he could leave anything behind, he wanted it to be the faith in Lily's heart, the faith he had once lost and now found again because of her. The wind outside picked up, rattling the window pane. The lantern flickered, its light wavering like fragile breath. Cole sat quietly for a long time, sighing, conflicted. He held the paper, staring at the words, and pressed his lips together. Then, with a decisive yet sorrowful motion, he folded the letter and tore it in half. The paper ripped sharply in the silence. The fragments fell to the floor, twirling in the lantern's glow, then came to rest, like the unspoken thoughts that had lingered in his heart. He rested his head on the table, hands clutching the pen, gaze fixed toward the window where the moon still cast its gentle light. In that quiet, Cole realized that sometimes love isn't about speaking aloud, but about letting the one you love be free, to live on without being burdened by another's pain. The night lingered, and he fell asleep at the table, head resting on his arm. At dawn, Lily awoke and stepped softly toward the table. She noticed the torn fragments scattered across the floor, some ink blurred by the warmth of his hand. She knelt, picking up each piece, piecing them together, reading in the dim light of the morning creeping through the cracks in the door. The scattered words were enough for her to understand the final message he had intended to send, a promise he never spoke aloud. If I am gone, please continue to believe in love. Tears fell gently, smudging the last lines. Each drop released a part of the past, letting go of pain with the unspoken words. She sat beside the table, looking at him still asleep, breathing evenly, face peaceful like never before. Lily smiled through her tears, heart full, grateful, aching, and yet lightened. She understood that the man before her had not only saved her from fear, but also taught her how to love again, through trust, through gentleness, and through the silence he chose. She stood, opened the door, and stepped outside. The morning air was crisp, dew still clinging to the leaves, the sky soft in shades of violet and blue. Lily looked up to the sky, where thousands of stars lingered before dawn erased them. Her voice, trembling but sure, floated into the wind. You already healed me, cowboy. Her words mingled with the breeze, drifting through the treetops toward the horizon. Morning light illuminated her face, reflecting in her deep brown eyes, now free from shadow. The forest wind rustled through her hair, carrying the scent of wood smoke, earth, and the warmth of trust. Lily lingered, letting the space envelop her, letting her heart quiet. In that silence, she knew that love need not be written or spoken. It exists in every gesture, every gaze, every breath. And perhaps it was Cole through his silence, through the unspoken, who had healed her completely. Inside the cabin, Cole stirred slightly, one hand still resting on the table where the paper fragments had lain. Perhaps he dreamed. Or perhaps he sensed that outside. The girl who had once lost her faith in love now stood under the sky, smiling at her own life. Morning light poured into the cabin, falling upon the torn papers on the floor, papers that no longer needed to be pieced together, for the message had been heard, felt with the heart, without a single written word. Part 9. The Return to Life. Spring arrived in Silver Creek, gentle sunlight filtering through newly budding trees. Green grass began to cover the land once scorched by fire, land that had carried Lily Harper's pain and sorrowful memories. Birds sang across the meadows, mingling with the scent of damp earth and faint wildflowers. The world seemed to shine, reflecting the renewal of her heart after long, empty winters. Lily stood in front of the horse station, once a place of loneliness and loss. Now the wooden walls were freshly painted, the door wide open, and the saddles neatly arranged, ready to welcome guests. She smiled a real, gentle smile, full of life. Each step across the worn wooden floor, each glance exchanged with passers-by, radiated confidence, peace, and the joy of life restored. Visitors, strangers, and townsfolk alike were met with Lily's warm smile. People paused, exchanging glances, sensing that this horse station was now more than a resting place for travelers and their horses. It was a place of hope, where someone had learned to love and be loved again. From a distance, Cole Matthews watched, fully recovered, tall and strong, his gaze calm yet tender. He observed Lily without stepping forward. Each of her movements, every smile, made his chest ache with a strange mix of lightness and depth, seeing genuine joy in the eyes of the one he loved. Lily turned, catching Cole's gaze across the meadow. No words were necessary. One look was enough to convey understanding. In that moment, all fear, loss, and trials they had endured melted away in the spring light and the peace radiating from their hearts. Their eyes met, silent but full of meaning, a trust, a promise, a profound connection. She stepped across the soft grass of the yard, each step light yet assured. Cole remained still, letting her come to him. When she reached him, she took his hand, small but firm, placing it gently in his. Sunlight fell on her hair and face, reflected in his eyes, and the world around them seemed to pause, leaving only their hearts beating in unison with the breath of spring. She whispered, voice soft but full of feeling. They said no one could heal me. Cole smiled, deep and warm, almost a whisper in the space between them. Guess they were wrong. No further explanation was needed. No grand gestures, just hands clasped, eyes locked, and quiet presence spoke volumes. Every scar, every pain, every long-held loss had been healed, not erased, but replaced with trust, happiness, and love. Spring spread across Silver Creek, smooth green fields, wildflowers blooming golden, birds chirping in the trees. The sound of horse hooves echoed lightly as guests arrived, yet every sound seemed to blend with Lily and Cole's heartbeat, forming a gentle melody for this perfect moment. Lily inhaled deeply, feeling Cole's warm hand, sensing her own heart lighten, freed from the weight of the past. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them to look at him again. Each smile, each exchanged glance, affirmed that they had overcome everything, found each other, and discovered themselves within one another's hearts. Cole tightened his grip slightly, gaze soft, voice low and full of affection. "Welcome back to life, Lily." She smiled, leaning into him, feeling his steady, even breath. No darkness lingered in her soul now. No fear held sway. Only spring light, love, and a profound sense of peace remained. The moment stretched endlessly, needing no words. They stood together, amid the spring fields, in sunlight and shared breath, knowing that from this day forward, everything had changed. They had returned to life not merely because time had passed, but because they had learned to love, to trust, and to heal one another. Sunlight flooded their faces, reflecting in their eyes soft yet brilliant, a reminder that life always offers new beginnings, fresh joy, and that true love finds a way to hearts willing to receive it. Lily squeezed Cole's hand, inhaling deeply, warmth spreading through her body. Each step, each smile, each gaze was proof that she had returned to life stronger, more confident, ready to love fully. Cole watched her, pride and tenderness in his eyes, knowing that all they had endured, loss, loneliness, fear, had become the foundation for their present happiness. And in the spring light, amidst green fields and a bright sky, they moved forward together. No words needed, only silence full of meaning. They had been reborn, healed, and had found each other. Part 10. The Sunset Promise. Sunset draped over the hills around Silver Creek, crimson light stretching across the meadows, gilding the rooftops and treetops of late spring. A gentle breeze ruffled Lily Harper's hair, brushing against her face, carrying the scent of grass and fresh earth. She rode beside Cole Matthews, leaning into him, hands clasped tightly, holding on to all the calm and peace of the moment. Their horses moved slowly, steps in rhythm with the heartbeat of two people who had endured so much pain, fear, and loss. Lily breathed deeply, feeling the wind on her face, the scent of wildflowers, and the steady breath of Cole beside her. For the first time in many years, she felt her heart completely at ease. No trembling, no worry. All the scars of her past, inside and out, were now just part of a story that had been healed. Cole gazed toward the horizon, where the sun was sinking behind the hills, crimson light reflecting in his eyes. Lily felt warmth radiate from his heart. No words were necessary, their hands held tightly. Eyes locked. They understood that love and presence alone could heal any wound. The wind picked up slightly, Cole's coat fluttering with the horse's stride, and Lily leaned closer into him. In that absolute silence, amid the crimson sunset and vast sky, she felt profound safety and peace, quiet, unhurried, yet complete and intense. Cole leaned toward her, voice low and warm, just audible over the whispering wind. Some scars never fade, but love makes them beautiful. His words floated through the space, a gentle warmth that made Lily close her eyes, inhale deeply, feeling every breath and heartbeat in sync with his. She smiled fully, without tremor or fear. All pain and loss receded, leaving only the sunset, love, and absolute peace. They rode slowly, wind tossing hair and tall grass around them, creating a vivid yet gentle tableau that soothed the soul. Every sound, horse hooves, wind, distant bird calls blended into a soft, meaningful melody. Lily leaned on Cole, hands still clasped, feeling the strength and warmth in his grasp. sensing the steadfastness and protection he offered. No words were needed. Their presence, their glances, their holding of hands spoke for them the past could not be erased, but love could turn every scar into something beautiful. The sun sank below the horizon, crimson fading into the dreamy purples of twilight. Lily closed her eyes, letting the wind and fading light touch her skin, her hair, her breath. She felt life in full, knowing she had truly been reborn, and that Cole's love had transformed all her pain into gentle memories. Cole lowered his gaze toward her, tender yet profound, conveying that all pain was accepted, every scar cherished, and that love had the power to make everything beautiful, no matter how much it had hurt before. They rode through the hills at day's end, silent yet full of emotion, letting every step, every gust of wind, every ray of sunset remind them that true happiness comes from being present with one another, from love, and from healing together. Finally, as the last light of sunset vanished behind the hills, they stopped, standing among the tall grass and breeze, hands still entwined, hearts at peace, eyes meeting in a complete, unspoken understanding, no fear, no loss, only love and healing. In the vast, wild west, amidst the fiery sunset and swirling wind, Lily Harper and Cole Matthews knew that all they had endured, pain, loss, fear, had become beautiful scars, proof that true love does not erase the past, but transforms it into something more radiant than ever. The sun faded into night over Silver Creek's meadows, soft golden light merging with shadows, touching every blade of grass and treetop. Lily and Cole stood side by side, hands clasped, eyes toward the horizon where the last light faded. The air was quiet, only the whisper of wind through the grass and the hum of insects in the approaching night. Cole's deep, warm voice carried slowly with the wind, imprinting each moment in memory. They said no one could heal her, but love don't ask permission. It just walks in, quiet, and stays. The sunset dimmed gradually, yielding to the still night. Soft, warm acoustic music played, filling the space with emotion, wrapping past pain and loss in peace and love. Lily leaned against Cole, hands still entwined, feeling warmth, protection, and unwavering loyalty from him. If this story touched your soul, comment your city below. Tell me, do you still believe love can heal? This is Wild West US, where cowboys don't just ride, they redeem. Cold, silent cowboys loving through redemption. Second chances ride in the West, love that saves a man from himself and a woman from her pain. In the final moment, golden light faded into night. They stood together, hearts and hands entwined, their heartbeat merging with the wind and music. Every trial had passed, every wound healed, and love remained in its simplest, strongest form, quietly entering their lives, staying, and turning every scar into something beautiful, eternal. Fade out, soft, warm acoustic music, dimming light, leaving the lingering echo of a heartfelt love story in the Wild West.
He found peace, not by forgetting his past, but by forgiving